What's going on, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of the Sundown Series. I've never done a special edition for the Sundown Series until now, and it's a very interesting reason for that. And that wasn't going to happen until I came across a town that I was doing in Indiana. As y'all know, Indiana is the latest state that I'm on with my Sundown Series journey. And when I was doing one of the states, not one of the states, but a couple of the counties and towns and villages, the topic of the Klan constantly came up in a few of those locations, but they didn't go and expound on that. So we know that in Indiana, the Klan has a huge, long history in that state. So I said to myself, I would be doing a disservice if I did not do a Indiana Sundown Series special on the Klan's relationship with the state of Indiana. And as you can see by the title, I became, I let those creative juices just flow yet again and called it Sundown Series Special Edition IndiKKKlana. I think that was like the perfect title to give this. And as you can see, all I did was I went to Google, I typed in Indiana Klan into the search bar for the images, and these are all pictures that have come out for the Klan, but these are all Klan members in the state of Indiana. Because I wanted to focus just on that. I didn't want to focus on any other location. Now, you would think that the Klan got started in Indiana with its history, but it actually didn't. It actually got started in, I believe, Tennessee. But it became such a stronghold in Indiana that they might as well have been originated there. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and read the history of the Klan in Indiana and see what else we can learn about the organizations in this state. The Indiana Klan was a branch of the Ku Klux Klan, a secret society in the United States that organized in 1915 to affect public affairs on issues of prohibition, education, political corruption, and morality. Morality, that's funny. It was strongly white supremacist, not just against African Americans, but also Catholics and Jews, whose faith were commonly associated with Irish, Italian, Balkan, and Slavic immigrants and their descendants. In Indiana, the Klan generally did not practice overt violence, but used intimidation in certain cases, whereas nationally, the organization practiced political acts against minority, ethnic, and religious groups. The Indiana Klan rose to prominence beginning in the early 1920s after World War I, when white Protestants felt threatened by social and political issues, including changes caused by decades of heavy immigration from Southern and Eastern Europe. By 1922, the state had the largest organization nationally, and its membership continued to increase dramatically under the leadership of D.C. Stevenson. It averaged 2,000 new members per week from July 1922 to July 1923, when he was appointed as the Grand Dragon of Indiana. He led the Indiana Klan and other chapters he supervised to break away from the national organization in late 1923. Indiana Klan's organization reached its peak of power in the following years, when it had 250,000 members, an estimated 30% of native-born white men. By 1925, over half the elected members of the Indiana General Assembly, the governor of Indiana, and many other high-ranking officials in local and state government were members of the Klan. Politicians had also learned they needed Klan endorsement to win office. That year, Stevenson was charged and convicted for the rape and murder of Madge Oberholzer, a young schoolteacher. His vile behavior caused a sharp drop in Klan membership, which decreased further with his exposure to the press of secret deals and the Klan's bribery of public officials. Denied pardon, in 1927, Stevenson began to talk to the Indianapolis Times, giving them lists of people who had been paid by the Klan. Their press investigation exposed many Klan members, showed they were not law-abiding, and ended the power of organization. As members dropped out by the tens of thousands, by the end of the decade, the Klan was down to about 4,000 members. and finished in the state. Efforts by some to revive it in the period of the 1960s and 70s were not successful. In 1920, Imperial Wizard William J. Simmons of Atlanta, Georgia, chose Joe Huffington to start an official Indiana chapter of the Ku Klux Klan. Huffington left for Indiana and set up his first headquarters in Evansville. Huffington met D.C. Stevenson, a fellow war veteran with a background in Texas and Oklahoma, who quickly became one of the leading members of the chapter. Stevenson was active in the local Democratic Party and had run unsuccessfully in the Democratic congressional primary of 1922 as an anti-prohibition candidate. He was more successful with recruiting and organizing new members. Like other agents, Stevenson got to keep a portion of the entrance fees and began to amass wealth. Entrance in the Klan cost $10 plus dues, and the recruiter personally kept $4 of each registration. It is estimated that Stevenson made between $2 and $5 million from his position in the Klan. Southern Indiana had already had significant vigilante activity among white cap groups dating back to the American Civil War. Stevenson was an active recruiter. He initially stressed the concept of the Klan as a fraternal society and brotherhood organized for civic activism to help the poor and defend morality. He gained the support of many ministers and church congregations for these appeals to populist issues, and the Klan grew rapidly in Indiana. D.C. Stevenson moved during 1920 to Evansville, Indiana, which ironically was one of my stops when I did the Indiana run of this series, where he worked for a retail coal company. He joined the Democratic Party and in 1922 ran unsuccessfully for a Democratic congressional nomination. He was said to have already married and abandoned 2 wives before settling in Evansville. Joseph M. Huffington, whom the Klan had sent from Texas as an agent for organizing in Evansville, recruited Stevenson to group the Inner Circle. The historian Leonard Moore characterized them as both young men on the make. The Evansville Clavern became the most powerful in the state, and Stevenson soon contributed to attracting numerous new members. More than 5,400 men, or 23% of the native-born white men in Vanderburgh County, ultimately joined the Klan. Building on the momentum, Stevenson set up a base in Indianapolis, where he helped create the Klan state newspaper Fiery Cross, and he quickly recruited new agents and organizers building on news about the organization. Protestant ministers were offered free memberships. From July 1922 to July 1923, nearly 2,000 new members joined the Klan in Indiana each week. Hiram Wesley Evans, who led recruiting for the national organization, maintained close ties to state leaders throughout 1921 to 1922, and especially to Stevenson, as Indiana by then had the largest state organization. Stevenson backed Evans in November 2022 when he unseated William J. Simmons as Imperial Wizard of the National KKK. Evans had ambitions to make the Klan a political force in the country. Klansmen in the Indiana General Assembly passed a bill in 1922 that created a Klan Day at the Indiana State Fair, complete with a nighttime cross burning. Governor Warren T. McCray vetoed the bill. Beginning his public resistance to the Klan, he was the highest ranking official to oppose them. The same year, Edward L. Jackson, a Klan member who had been elected as a Secretary of State, granted the Klan a state charter. McCray demanded the charter be revoked because the leaders of the Klan did not reveal themselves to sign the document. Jackson refused to revoke the charter. Stevenson ordered Jackson to offer McCray a $10,000 bribe to try to end his anti-Klan stance. McCray was personally wealthy and refused the bribe. In November 1922, Hiram Wesley Evans took power as the new Imperial Wizard of Atlanta with the support of Stevenson. As a reward and in recognition of Stevenson's recruiting success, Evans appointed Stevenson as Grand Dragon of the Indiana Klan and head of recruiting for 7 states north of Mississippi during a 1923 4th of July gathering of the Klan in Kokomo, Indiana, with more than 100,000 members and their families attending. Stevenson said, "My worthy subjects, citizens of the invisible empire, Klansmen, all greetings. It grieves me to be late. The President of the United States kept me unduly long counseling on matters of my state. My plea that this is the time and the place for my coronation, obtained from me surcease from his prayers for guidance. Encouraged by his success, in September 1923, Stevenson severed his ties with the existing national organization of the Klan and formed a rival Klan made up of chapters he led. That year, Stevenson changed his affiliation from the Democratic to the Republican Party, which predominated in Indiana and much of the Midwest. He notably supported Republican Edward L. Jackson, rumored to be a Klan member, which he ran successfully for governor in 1924. With its high rate of membership, the Indiana Klan became influential in Indiana politics, and a public endorsement from the organization leadership could practically guarantee victory at the polls. This led to many Indiana politicians at all levels of government to join the Klan in order to gain their support. The Klan became so powerful and Stevenson so influential that by 1925 he began to brag, saying, "I am the law in Indiana." The Klan's rhetoric was anti-Catholic and anti-Semitic. In these years, as rapid expansion of industrial jobs in Indiana and other Midwestern states brought tens of thousands of immigrants from Southern and Eastern Europe. As these immigrants were mainly of Catholic or Jewish faith, the Klan alleged that they were behind secret plots to overthrow the government and exterminate Protestants. Its lesser enemy, however, were blacks. The Indiana Klan stressed more social issues than racism, as it promised to uphold moral standards, help enforce prohibition, and end political corruption. The Klan also publicly attacked adulterers, gamblers, and undisciplined youths. The Klan members wanted to end authorization for Catholic parochial schools and remove all Catholic influence from public schools. The Klan was unable to attain either goal, but attained support for their agenda from key leaders. Samuel Ralston delivered an anti-Catholic speech in 1922, which the Klan reproduced and spread across the state. With their support, he was elected to the United States Senate in 1923. Unable to bring Governor McCrae to their side, leaders in the Indiana Klan worked to uncover dirt on McCrae to force him out of office. They uncovered loans solicited by McCrae in a questionable way. Because the solicitations were sent by mail, they were subject to federal mail fraud laws. The Klan leaders used their influence to have McCrae tried, convicted, and imprisoned for mail fraud, forcing him to resign from office in 1924. Edward Jackson was elected to the governor's office that fall. At the height of its power, the Klan had over 250,000 members, which was over 30% of the state's white male population. The highest concentration was in cities in the central part of that state. Klan membership was discouraged in some parts of the state. New Albany, for instance, city leaders denounced the Klan and discouraged residents from joining. Other cities, including in Indianapolis, were almost completely controlled by the Klan, and election to public office was impossible without their support. Street fights occurred in Indianapolis between the Klan members and minority groups. Statewide estimates of native white male Indiana Klan membership range from 27 to 40%. The Klan had a large budget based on a percentage of membership fees and dues. With more than 50,000 dues paying memberships in Indianapolis, the Klan had access to tens of millions of dollars. A large part of those funds went to helping the poor, but millions were also poured into bribing public officials, paying off enemies, purchasing weapons, and contributing to political campaigns. In 1925, Stevenson, head of the Indiana Klan, met Madge Oberholzer, the head of the state's commissioner to combat illiteracy. The night of the inaugural ball of Republican Governor Edward L. Jackson, she was abducted from her home, taken to the Indianapolis train station, and held in a private railroad car. On the train to Hammond, Stevenson raped her repeatedly and attacked her. In Hammond, she pleaded the need to get to a drugstore where she secretly ate mercury tablets and bichloride. Using the illness brought on by the poisons as an excuse, she begged Stevenson to release her. He took her back to Indianapolis and held her at his place. After Oberholzer refused to marry him several days later, he had her returned to her home and secretly placed in bed. When her parents found her, the young woman was nearly dead. Taken to the hospital, Oberholzer died about a month later. She told her story in detail to several witnesses. Stevenson was immediately arrested and charged with second-degree murder. The attending doctor who testified in the trial said that Oberholzer's wounds appeared as if a cannibal had chewed on her. The prosecution held that the wounds and mercury together caused the death of Oberholzer. Stevenson was convicted, and the state Supreme Court upheld the decision in Stevenson versus the state. He was sentenced to prison serving until 1956 when he received parole. Denied a pardon by Governor Jackson, whom he had supported for office, Stevenson in 1926 began to talk to reporters from the Indianapolis Times and exposed many of the high-profile members of the Klan. Stevenson gave the reported names to politicians and officials whom the Klan had bribed and who had accepted money. The mayor of Indianapolis, John Duval, was jailed for 30 days and later convicted of bribery. Numerous commissioners and other local leaders across the state were forced to resign on bribery charges stemming from acceptance of support from the Klan. Governor Jackson was charged with bribery for his role in attempting to influence McRae. The court found the charges against Jackson true, but judged him not guilty, as the statute of limitations had expired on his crimes. He ended his term and did not seek re-election. He was disgraced and never held public office again. Many other leaders of the Klan were arrested and tried on charges of conspiracy to bribe public officials. The press investigation, which won a Pulitzer Prize, revealed that more than half of the members of the Indiana General Assembly were Klan members. The Stevenson rape case and bribery scandal destroyed the Klan's image as the defenders of women and justice. Members abandoned the organization by the tens of thousands. The historian James Madison cautions that the Klan cannot be dismissed as either an aberration or as simply the insidious appeal of fanatical few. Nor should the Klan be seen as thoroughly dominating the state and accurately reflecting racist violence or provincial beliefs shared for all time by Hoosiers. Although some people tried to revive the Klan in the 1960s and 70s when changing social values, the Vietnam War, urban riots, and industrial restructuring caused widespread economic and social disruption. The organization never regained the members or power it held during the 1920s. Wow. So, you just heard me read that entire, I almost want to say monologue, but this entire passage about the Klan in Indiana. Now, that's just in the state of Indiana. So what did we learn? That we learned that Indiana had one of the largest, if not the largest, Klan organizations ever, which now I can see why they talk about it so much, even though it didn't get started there. We learned that this Stevenson guy, if you can't tell who he is on the screen, he's this guy right here where I'm hovering my mouse over. That's him. It's kind of cut off at the bottom. Here's another one right here. The news clipping, the newspaper clipping about his guilt in him having to second-degree murder for the murder of that woman in the rape. But yeah, like, it was a lot going on with this. And you know what? I might, when I get to the state of Tennessee, which is going to be a while from now, I might do the same thing there that I'm doing with this, because like I said, the Klan got started in Tennessee, so I'm curious to see what they have as far as a write-up goes for that state when it comes to the Klan. But that was a lot to take in. I asked the people who live in Indiana, did y'all know about this history? I mean, I know y'all knew about the history of the Klan in Indiana as a state, but I need to know, did y'all know, like, about some of the names that I mentioned? And I'm willing to bet some of y'all are going to talk about that Stevenson guy. That guy he was off the chain. And him doing what he did is what led to the downfall of their organization. That one act where he could not control his urges and raped that woman and then she later dies. That's what led to the downfall of their group. That one act is all it took. But yeah, this was an interesting find. But I said I wanted to do this as a special edition video before I head on to the next state. But this now officially wraps up the Indiana portion of the Sundown series. Next week, we will be headed to our new state. You will find out what that is on the day of. But y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, and I will talk to you in the next one.